Second session.
All right. Excuse me. I came out and I lost all y'all.
Sorry.
We were hoping we could figure some things out, Your Honor, but
We're not able. Okay. All right. Call your next witness.
it'll be Dr. Berryman.
Okay. And she is available?
Well, she was. I had told her when we were wrapping up with this witness that we'd be calling
Okay.
her soon. So
Oh,
she said she's just running errands right now. I'm hoping she will be.
okay.
What's the phone
615-957-6386.
957. I'm sorry, what's the name again?
Dr. Berryman.
Yes. Can I speak to Dr. Berryman? She hung up. Sorry. She hung up.
Jamie Berryman. Dr. Jamie Berryman.
Yes, ma'am. Call for the court.
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't know what
Hey, Sarah,
happened
sit
then.
that
All right,
up
that's
there on the
fine.
phone, please.
Hey, Dr. Berry, this is Judge Calloway. How are you today?
I'm doing fine.
All right. Is this a good time that we can get you on to testify at this point?
Yeah, I'm in the car right now. Give me about 5 minutes to pull in my office and I can sit still and actually concentrate.
Okay. All right. We can give you 5
I'll be
minutes.
right back. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
We'll give her about 5 minutes. I guess procedurally, do y'all need to discuss anything? I won't see you all until October, and so we'll have the end of school, summer, and
Procedurally, I would request that the Facebook post stop, Your Honor. There have been very detailed Facebook postings about what happened on Wednesday and the status of everything that's going on in the trial. And I would request that those stop. And also the posts, there's been a post specifically about, very detailed posts about the daughter's thoughts of self-harm. I don't think that's beneficial to have that on Facebook.
all right, Ms. Regular.
Well, what the court order was the mother was enjoined from referencing the father on all social media posts. This includes, but is not limited to, of Delar's father, my Turkish enemy, as well as remarks that would lead a reasonable person to assume it's the father. It's not in the best interest of the child. I think those were the restraints that were against her. The other two restraints were about conversations that she had with the child. So, we still don't have any of that evidence in the record. And if we were to talk about that, and I, spoke to Ms. Rice about it, Ms. Hubbell's private page has 57 members. I'm not sure why Mr. Geider is tracking that down and somehow getting into that private group of which she has a close circle of friends. So I don't know exactly what they are. I don't know what exact words that are supposedly detrimental to him, but I do agree that restraining order is still in effect. I would ask that the court consider getting set up some type of contact between this mother and the child between October. So far you've heard 2 full days of testimony, and what's really before you to date is there is nothing that says that this child's behaviors are related to mom directly, or anything she said to the child. These supervisors, what they have talked about is, they disrupted mother's visits primarily because of talking about homeschool due to father's email, which was never part of the court order. So we got set back a year because of some misdirected information given to the visitation supervisors that was not part of the court order, and it came from the dad. And you've seen dad has done some disparaging things against mother too. So he equally needs to be restrained not to impugn the mother to third parties as well. But, we do need some contact. We've not there's just no evidence before this court that besides these two parties pointing fingers at each other and being hateful to each other, that any of that is the source of harm. I think the animosity is, but as far as direct things that these parties are doing, it's not. So I would ask the court that we go to the place in the order from 2015 in which this court stated that, let me see what you have in here. On page 9 of the October 15 order, that she be permitted a minimum of 8 hours unsupervised visits a week. I mean, we have a child that's entering summer. Of course, Mr. Gadare has not testified, but we've not heard any testimony about what's going to happen over the summer, and school's got about 2 more weeks. So I would ask that we go ahead and establish that pending final adjudication of all the petitions that are before the court.
All right, Ms. Matt?
Facebook postings, YouTube postings, it has always been my belief, Your Honor, that that is Ms. Hubbell's outlet of communication. I truly and honestly believe that as Ms. Hubbell, if Ms. Hubbell really knew and could understand the damage that she is doing to Delara or even to this case, that she would stop. I don't believe that she can conform to understanding the damage that she's doing with the social media and all of these things. I just don't believe that she can get there. I don't know if it's because of some type of diagnosis. I don't know that. I'm not a psychologist, although my colleagues both have that background. What I can tell you is that I have, and you've heard extreme amounts of testimony about the need of my child being now criteria-wise qualified as emotionally disturbed, extreme amounts of mental and emotional anguish that she's going through, so much to say she thinks of killing herself, but I won't do it. And she's in 2nd grade. As I said in my opening, Your Honor, I need, on behalf of Delara, for a plan to be drafted and crafted in such a way that no one has the opportunity to violate the order. But I think the heavens would have to open up for that to occur. The issue for today with even asking about an interim order or a pendente light visitation order is that we haven't gotten past the point of reaching a recommendation from a therapeutic provider that unsupervised visitation should be given. The weight is on the court's shoulders to determine, after hearing Tracy Rose's testimony and because again, that was the only actual observer of the mother and Delara and the father and Delara that we've heard today and in the past 2 days, to say, are we at that point to move towards unsupervised visitations? What I can say to you, Your Honor, what we are in is a kid went from seeing her mom every week or every other week to not seeing her at all, except for in a therapeutic setting, and then not seeing her at all, and then in a therapeutic setting, and then not seeing her at all. It's a little up and down. Something needs to be done in a way to help my client, and I don't know how to do it.
All right, I'll take all those arguments into consideration. Dr. Bear is ready, and we have her. I'll let you respond at the end as well. All right, Dr. Bear, if I can get you to raise your right hand for us.
I am.
Do you swear a firm testimony about the gift to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. All right.
Good afternoon, Dr. Raymond. I apologize. I told you 10 minutes and it was significantly longer. I apologize for that. I just have a couple brief questions for the court. Can you tell the court how you were currently employed?
In private practice, I'm self-employed.
All right, and what is it that you do? I think we all can stipulate. It's late Friday afternoon. We all know Dr. Berryman.
Thank you. Y'all talked to me before, so.
And we stipulate her as an expert in child psychology.
Perfect.
Is that right, Ms. Regular? You got that?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Have you had the opportunity to interact with Delora?
I have.
And what have those interactions been?
I'm her individual therapist for outpatient therapy.
And for how long have you been seeing Delora?
You know, I did not have my chart right in front of me, but it's been for several months now.
And how frequently are you seeing her?
Generally, we schedule it once a week. There's been a couple of hits and misses this week because of court, and I was sick a couple of weeks ago, but generally we have it every week.
Have you also had the chance to meet with Ms. Hubble?
I have.
And what was the structure of those meetings?
Just basically to get her input in terms of past history, as well as just keep her updated on the Laura's progress.
Have you had the opportunity to meet with both of them at the same time?
I did not know.
All right. And what have been your general observations about Delara's progress?
In the last several months, there's been some improvement. I know the school did a psychoeducational evaluation and implemented a few changes, and I think she's responding well to that. Therapy with me has gone generally well. She's not an open child. I mean, quite often I'll ask her how her week has been, and she doesn't want to talk about it, even if it's a good week. So I don't push her, and we just kind of roll along and chit-chat about things as they come up. She actually has gotten a little better. Earlier on, she would tell me it was none of my business, but we've gotten past that. So,
okay. Have you diagnosed her with anything?
You know, generally, there's some oppositional defiant disorder issues as far as describing the behavioral, and I also see her as an adjustment disorder as well, just in terms of all the changes she's had in the last couple of years.
And how would you typically help clients who have those kind of problems deal with them?
We do a lot of play therapy, trying to get her to talk about her feelings better in a more appropriate manner. Collaborate with the school and what kind of system they have there in her home life, and try to have some sort of structure and positive reinforcement type situations.
Is there anything specifically for the adjustment disorder to help her to function better moving forward?
Well, just pretty much the same thing. I mean, sometimes it just depends on what the situation is, which she has no control over. So it's just kind of helping her make transitions from one situation to the next without too much anger or drama, running out of rooms, hitting people. I mean, trying to work on the less aggressive means of expressing yourself.
Have you noticed anything that seems to especially trigger her?
When she gets in trouble at school, she definitely does not want to talk about it with me. So as far as what triggers her at school, I'm not really sure based on, I mean, I don't know, sometimes the teachers don't know what triggers her when she was really acting out.
Okay. Have you made any recommendations as far as medication?
No.
Do you have any recommendations as far as medication?
You know, I think hers seem to be, I don't see her as being, I don't know that medication is going to fix what we need to fix on this child. She seems to be responding well to the changes at school. So at this point, I think that's where we're going to leave it for now.
Is there anything that you think will fix what we need to fix?
You know, that's a loaded question for a psychologist. You know, I certainly, if there was some settling in her home life in terms of a situation where she could have a balanced relationship with both of her parents, would certainly make things better. But that, again, is beyond her control or mine, so that's just part of the situation there.
Have you had the chance to speak with her father as well?
Yeah, I touch base with him at the beginning of every session, just how's the week been. Sometimes we talk he comes back, we talk, sometimes there's nothing to talk about, so I always kind of keep in touch on a regular basis with that.
In speaking with Ms. Hubble or Mr. Geiger, have you had any specific concerns with things that either of them have said? You know, Ms. Hubble and I have had numerous conversations over the past couple of months, and I mean, she's clearly frustrated, and I mean, I've been pretty blunt with her about how she handles some things I think she could do differently. She's been fairly receptive. I mean, she sent me an email about requesting another appointment to talk about
some of the stuff with the school recommendations, which I've got to do that with her. But you know, to be real direct, I mean, I don't know if I have anything directly concerning. I mean, I think the situation is what the situation is, and Miss Hubble has her own opinion about how things go, which I don't think kind of has helped things a bit. But again, it's her opinion, and I'm kind of, you know, I can't change her mind about anything, so I just worked around it.
What are some of the suggestions that you've given Lydia about what she can do differently?
Well, just, I mean, I think approaching people in a less aggressive manner. I mean, but she's got a real strong belief for her civil rights and standing up for herself and speaking out, and, you know, teaching someone the time to do and time not to is not necessarily, I mean, she's a very intelligent, strong-minded woman. I mean, and so she's got her own opinions about how things go. I can't change her mind about that. So, like I said, I just kind of work around that.
Have you seen any comparisons in the aggressive manner in which Ms. Hubble approaches people with the aggressive manner in which Delara approaches people?
Well, I mean, I think they both have, I guess there could be some comparison somewhat, but I mean, that's kind of a hard question.
Okay.
I have not seen them together, so I haven't seen how Delara would mimic or not. I mean, the situations are separate, and most often the behaviors happened at school, so I haven't witnessed it directly with Delara. So, and then with Ms. Hubble, I've not witnessed her being really aggressive in my office per se. I mean, we get wordy a little bit, but then I get wordy too. So, but I've not had any aggression out of really either one of them in my presence. So, there was one moment with Delara, but we diverted it pretty quickly, and it went away pretty quickly. But I have not had a real pattern of behavior with either one of them with aggression.
Are there any other recommendations you've made to Ms. Hubble?
No, just, I mean, she's met with me, and I mean, I'd hope the supervised visits would have gone smoother. I don't know where we are with the next step for that. Just to follow the rules and do what you're supposed to. Basically, that's all I can say.
What recommendations would you have as far as supervised visits moving forward?
Well, I mean, I know that she was looking for another supervisor. I don't know who that is at this point. You know, if we can get some, Delara clearly wants to see her mom, and if we can have a situation where that would go smoothly, that would be nice.
Do you think that unsupervised visits would be appropriate?
Until the general rule of thumb on this type of thing, if you can't do supervised visits correctly, you don't move next step. Next step is unsupervised. There's got to be a period of consistent positive.
Did we lose her?
Are you there? Dr. Freeman?
Yes.
Oh, okay. There has to be a period of consistent positive supervised visits before unsupervised visits?
That's generally the rule of thumb, yes.
In your work with Delara, have you made an observation about what knowledge she may have of the court proceedings and how that would be affecting her?
She hasn't brought anything up in front of me.
Has she brought up anything with you about the reasons for her behavior if she's at school?
She doesn't, that's something she really doesn't like talking about, so getting to the reason why she does it has not been very successful.
Do you have any recommendations about how either parent could interact with Delara differently to help with the current situation?
Hang on. Sorry. I locked my husband out of the office.
On purpose?
I'm running around with him doing errands. I was in the Home Depot parking lot earlier. So, say that question again, please. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Do you have any recommendations for things that either Ms. Hubble or Mr. Guider could do differently with Delara that you think might be beneficial?
You know, Sanan has done everything I've asked him to do. We talked about some, positive reinforcement, behavioral stuff. He seems to follow through with removing electronics and so forth when she's not had a good day at school. And Ms. Hubble, I mean, it's kind of restricted because our visits are supervised, so there's not much I can offer in that direction, so.
Okay. Well, I am going to pass you off to somebody else in the interest of time. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Reguly?
Good afternoon, Dr. Berryman. It's Connie Regularly. How are you?
Hi, doing fine.
Got a couple of questions for you. When is the last time you got a report from the school regarding her behavior, or do you have communication with them at all?
You know, I get forwarded emails sometimes, and it's been quite, I've noticed it's been a couple of weeks, maybe even a month or so, since I've had anything negative reported.
Okay, so we've had some testimony. Actually, we had Getz, the vice principal, come in on Wednesday, and the teacher came in on Wednesday morning, and then they both also reported a couple weeks good, and then we had Dr. Ashford come in this morning and say yesterday that Delara had a very significant aggressive incident and drew blood on the Getz, scratched her, bit her, spit on her. Have you heard any of that?
I have not. Who did she bite?
She bit Dr. Getz and scratched her and spit on her.
I think I've missed it. I have not seen that one.
Okay.
I would say you probably wouldn't have just happened yesterday.
Yeah, it just happened yesterday.
Oh, well, that would explain. Yeah, and I was at a conference all day, so I haven't seen, I've got my emails on my phone, but I haven't seen anything come through that really reported that, so.
Okay. But have you actually, like, had conversations with Miss Pickett by chance?
You know, the school directed me to talk to the school psychologist, I think, back in the beginning of this, and that's who I talked to. I supported the evaluation being done because I thought that would be very helpful to get some information, but I don't have direct contact with them. I know they send emails out to the parents, and they keep me in the loop as far as forwarding me or CCing me on the emails, but I haven't really talked to the school.
Okay, so your information about her behavioral issues would just be coming through those emails. You haven't really talked to Miss Pickett or Dr. Getz or anything, right?
Not in recent months, no.
Okay. Well, have you ever talked to them, though? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I think at the very beginning when I called the school, they suggested I talk to the school psychologist, and that's who I dealt with. So.
Which was that, Dr. Ashford?
I think so. I'm not looking at my chart right this minute, so I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Did they contact you in the development of the school psychological?
No, I did not. I talked to them about doing it, but I did not speak to them about anything. Nobody talked to me about it in the process, no.
Okay. All right, you made a comment about if you can't do supervised visits correctly, probably should move to unsupervised. Who gave you the information that Ms. Hubble was not doing it correctly?
Well, I didn't say she didn't do it. If they can't go smooth and without draw, I mean, I don't think I said it wasn't done correctly. It was just mostly that it wasn't done. It hasn't gone smoothly without disruption, I think is a fair way to put that. Okay. Actually, Ms. Hubble has forwarded me copies of all the visitation notes, and I've got to call into Life Care and talk briefly with the worker there, but they have not sent, and I sent a release over, but they have not sent me a copy of that. So that's how I've been getting that information.
Okay.
And I did talk to one of the supervisors prior. She was the one, I guess, 3 ago. I'm blanking again. I don't have my stuff in front of me for her name, but she had done several with him over time, and then passed it over to her supervisor at the library for that last one they did, and then it moved to Life Care. So I did talk to the worker prior.
All right. So just from your general impression of what you recall, what information did you receive that it wasn't going smoothly? What info did you receive?
Well, just basically that Ms. Hubble will bring up topics, they'll ask her not to, she'll argue with them, and then I think there was something about wanting to go outside, and they told her no, and I mean just that constant argumentative and refusal to kind of listen and follow the rules, basically, is what I guess is the easiest way to put it.
Okay. Were you ever given the court order from October 2015, or do you know?
You know what? I have a packet of about 1.5 inches of information. I'm pretty sure it's in there. But you don't. I read that at the very beginning, but I have not seen it. I have not looked at it lately.
Okay, so you don't have any specific recollection of what type of restrictions or requirements Ms. Hubble was given per court order, right?
Not right off the top of my head, but I know that there have been given some specific guidelines for what not to talk about, and then that's what I know. Yes.
Okay, did Mr. Gader ever tell you, make any comments to you about what Mom was not supposed to talk about?
You know, I know that the topic of talking about court and talking about homeschooling, I think those were the two biggies that seem to be the ones that trigger everybody.
Okay, did he tell you that she wasn't supposed to talk about homeschooling?
You know, in general, I wanted to think that, I don't know that he specifically said that directly, but that is certainly the way I walked away feeling. Okay. After all this time, that seems to be one of the topics that seemed to be a problem.
Okay. Now, why, just in your opinion as a psychologist, why is Delara not talking to you about school?
You know, it started out with her getting in lots and lots of trouble. So every time she would come to me, we would have to talk about her misbehavior, which nobody loves to come in my office and talk about how they've had a bad day. I mean, that's not just Delara, that's all the kids I talk to. Mm-hmm. So it kind of started out that way. Now, I mean, so she's kind of been really avoidant of things. She's slowly warming up over time. She's not been an easy child to build rapport with. I think she's had other therapists. She's been through quite a bit. So I've had to work really hard at getting trust built up, and I'm not sure I'm 100% there yet. So I think it's gotten better in time, but so she's just opening up with me slowly but surely. It's taken a while.
All right, and so have you looked at this psychological report done by the school? Have you reviewed it?
I read that back when it first came out. I couldn't recall from memory anything directly. So.
Okay, hold on just a second. And for the record, we marked this as exhibit number 11, but I've got it in front of me now. And I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. Now, in your work that you've done, have you, are you dealing with her specifically, generally, not including just school, but are you trying to engage her in talking about her social relationships or her adaptability in social environments? Are you there yet?
Well, we talked about that some. I know she got kicked. One of the things that jumps to mind is she was kicked out of the music performance group that she was in, and she was really upset about that. So that kind of opened up the door to talk a little bit. Of course, Dolores, I never did anything wrong. It's not fair. It's about as far as I got with why that happened, and I never really had a clear understanding of what she'd done. I don't know if there was ever a report or a write-up. I never saw anything, but, you know, we have talked in terms of following rules and listening and doing what you're supposed to and taking your turn. I mean, we've talked about that in general on and off over time when it comes up.
Okay. All right. It sounds like, to me, from what you testified already, you've not really, identified a source, specifically either behaviors or non-behaviors of either parent that you can contribute to and say that's the cause of where we are today. Is that correct?
You know, that's pretty much what I said last time I testified.
I know it is, but this is a different hearing, okay?
I didn't know, this is not a continued part, okay, you know me, I repeat myself, but, yeah, so but at the end of the day, I mean, looking for a pattern and saying it was right after a visit this happened, or, you know, this has happened because there's not been a real clear causation between this could cause this to happen, because sometimes with Delara, you don't see it coming, and there's not necessarily anything that says this happened beforehand, so therefore she's acting that way. Sometimes it seems to be out of the blue to some degree. Right. Now, whatever they're doing at school right now, whatever they have implemented since the evaluation was done, she seems to be responding to whatever that is, and I'm not sure what it is exactly. But she's been doing much better the last 6 to 8 weeks, minus yesterday. So.
Okay. All right, very good. That's all I have. I'm going to pass you to the guardian ad litem, Ms. Mack.
All right, Ms. Mack.
Dr. Berryman, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm okay as soon as I get out of here.
Okay. Dr.
Hey,
Berryman, Dr. Berryman, you said you believe that you read the psychological report from the school that was provided to the team back in February.
Yeah, whenever it came out, I got a copy, and I did read it when it came out. So.
Have you also ever had the privilege of reading the recommendations from Delara's previous therapist, Carrie Lloyd?
Yeah. I've got those notes too. I've read everything, but it was back the earlier part of my beginning. So as far as putting a comparison down, I have not done that. So it's just been a while. I've read everything anybody's ever given me, but I have not memorized it. So
okay. So have you memorized, at zero disrespect, the goal in your treatment of Delara?
You know, my goal is to get her to be able to appropriately express her feelings without aggression or violence. And I guess number one, to build rapport with her and build up the trust, and to work toward getting her to express herself in a more appropriate manner. Those are the two main ones. We haven't gotten past that.
Is
so
there,
we're still working on both.
So appropriately express feelings, and what else?
Without aggression or violence, and to build, and for her to build rapport and have trust with me to be able to talk about things. So
Okay.
it's been an uphill battle on both.
And what? Okay, we talked about that. Is there a treatment plan in regards to Delara with building that rapport and appropriately expressing her feelings without aggression?
Well, we use play therapy.
Right.
I use some behavioral and some cognitive behavioral techniques toward that. I tend to kind of be eclectic in terms of doing whatever it takes to get the child's attention. So we play a lot of Connect Four. So, and we talk while we do that. So we get some talk therapy in along the way. It's just kind of, she's a hard nut to crack sometimes. So I think sometimes we take 5 steps forward, maybe 1 back, but we're slowly but steadily moving forward with this.
Have you
I do a lot of positive praise to her whenever she's had good days at school. We make a pretty big deal about, in fact, we even did a what I call field trip. She had so many good days in a row with certain colors of pink and purple, and we went and got frozen yogurt. I do that occasionally for a big deal, and she seemed to respond well to that. So we've made some good headway, but then we have days like yesterday, and it's just kind of hard to. You just have to keep going past that. So,
have you ever had the opportunity in your processing and rapport building with Delara to even work on how to assist Delara in deregulating her emotions, either at home?
We talk about taking a deep breath and stepping out and putting yourself in timeout But I think some of the things that happen are so impulsive. It's only till after you've done it that you go, oh, I should have done the other thing. It helps to be kind of on the ground when that happens, like someone at school working with her immediately, which I know that's something they were going to put in place. And she hasn't had, we've only had 1 or 2 minor moments with me when I'm able to deal with her directly on that. So,
and during your sessions, Dr. Berryman, they're what, 45 minutes, an hour?
About 45 minutes.
Right. And so would it be safe to say that the school would be a better gauge of meeting Delara's or treating Delara's needs in that setting there?
Yeah, they have 6 hours or more a day with her, so they have a little bit more time to see her all the way through. 45 minutes, I kind of hit the highlights sometimes. Therapy is what it is for the most part, but it's the day in, day out, everyday stuff she does at school. I think having them as her resource people for that works out very well.
Would it be safe to say that in regards to your recommendation that medication not be used right now, you can't really make that recommendation because you really are not seeing how she's acting in school?
Well, and the question is, what I would recommend, if the issue of medication does arise, then I would recommend them talk with a psychiatrist to evaluate that from that end. I think some of the things with Delara, she's kind of willful and hard-headed, which there's not a medicine for that because I could retire to the Bahamas if I could invent that. But as far as she has extremely great periods for a time, and then she has these outbursts. So,
Dr.
we recommended a psychiatrist to evaluate her for medication possibilities. I mean, I'm not against that, but I know that's a big leap when parents talk about putting kids on medicine.
Well, is it a big leap to you when a child has been aggressive the entire school year with breaking a teacher's toe and now biting and kicking and scratching administrators? You don't think that's a big enough leap to take?
Well, no, because we had about a 6 or 8 week period where things were getting better. I thought maybe we're on the right track, but the violent behavior yesterday, I don't know enough details about that to say what that was all about. But,
would it be safe to say that you don't know enough details about how DeLara is progressing back and forth in the school setting to even address what should be done in the school at this time?
Yeah, I think the Galler's a good school. I've been in IEP meetings there in years past. I trust the staff to handle themselves well there.
Okay, so if the school psychologist made a recommendation that there be a psych eval for medication management.
Objection. The psychologist didn't make that recommendation when you were here.
Yes, she did. I specifically asked the school psychologist what recommendations would she make. Medication management, seeing a psychiatrist. I noted that. That was the recommendation.
Well, she said it was a possibility.
Yeah, I think she said that. Yeah, I think.
Okay, well, I'll strike that. But if the school psychologist stated that it could be possible to help the child to consider medication management, do you believe that's an opportunity that the parents should explore?
You know, if nothing else is working, medicating a child this age is always a big deal. Meeting with a psychiatrist to talk about what they recommend, whether medicine or not, wouldn't be a bad deal. I don't think it hurts anything to meet with a psychiatrist to discuss what that might be.
What about additional behavioral therapy, a BCBA, in the home setting, working with the father and the mother, if possible, to assist the child to deregulate herself and be able to cope in her settings?
I mean, I'm not objecting to that if that's something that would be helpful.
Is it safe to say, Dr. Berryman, that your job is simply to do individual counseling outside of the school setting with DeLara on a weekly basis?
That's fair, yes.
And that you don't have the duty in your role to communicate on a daily basis with the school or any administration on behalf of DeLara at this point, correct?
Well, I do feel like it's important to keep up with what's going on at school, and I do depend on whether it's parents or an email from the teacher. I do think that's important for me to know. But again, I mean, there's only so much I can do here about what happens there. So
if her IEP is put in place there, that's the best place for DeLara right now to get those needs met, correct?
Well, if they're doing the IEP at the school she's in, I mean, that would be where that would happen. So
would you be of the
where else? I mean, I'm not sure I'm understanding.
Would you be of the position that if there's any additional counseling that will be needed for DeLara, either individually or family counseling, individual counseling or behavioral therapy, that in the school setting would be beneficial as well as at home?
I don't think anything would hurt as long as all the clinicians are communicating. Everybody's got to be on the same page.
Everybody, meaning who?
I mean, just like, if I have, like, say Youth Villages is doing in-home services with a family of mine, and I'm doing individual therapy, I like to kind of know what's going on. I like everybody to kind of know what the other one's doing, so we just have, you know, collateral services and not working in 3 different directions. It makes the continuity go smoother.
And in regards to DeLara's social-emotional piece, do you believe that it is therapeutically necessary for both the mother and the father to be engaged in her therapy or mental health treatment or anything like that?
Well, you know, I like to have both parents. I mean, usually whoever the residential parent is the one that brings them back and forth, and I kind of keep up with that. But I'm open-minded to the non-residential parent. I mean, I've been real open for Lydia to come in and meet with me and touch base and her express her concern. So I'm open to talking to both parents in my world. So. But
does that take away from your 45 minutes a week with DeLara?
Not really. I mean, I set up a separate point for Lydia, separate appointments for Lydia altogether, and then the first 5 or 10 minutes with the parent is just protocols that I do. so it's not taking anything away per se.
And you don't take, like TennCare, you're private insurance, right?
For now. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't take any new TennCare. I've really stayed, I'm really getting disenchanted with managed care, so that may not be a long-lived process for me, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Berryman.
All right.
Okay.
Ms. Digby, anything else?
No, I have just a couple questions.
All right.
Dr. Berman,
Yes.
how long, I know you've been in several court cases, just court cases that are contested custody cases. Can you give me an estimate? 500?
Over the last 25 years, probably so.
Okay. Have you had cases before in which it really boils down to parents don't like each other?
Objection, irrelevant.
That's all.
Hold on, Dr. Berry, what's relevant?
I think it's relevant because we've got to find some solution, and
I want us to stay.
all right. Well, let me say, do you have any recommendation for these parents as far as dealing with each other to reduce the conflict in which Delara has to deal with?
Oh. You would say the trickiest questions for last.
I just thought of it.
Well, you know, given the personalities and the temperament, I don't know that Sinan and Lydia, I mean, they're such different places right now, it's just hard to think of how to bring that closer without one of them having to give up and compromise. So it's kind of, I mean, meeting in the middle is going to be really difficult for these two.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else?
Anybody else? I got some questions for you, Dr. Berryman. So, while they are trying to find a supervisor for visitation, I'm trying to get to, I'm not going to see this case again until October, and I recognize the need for what I'm hearing, that Delara would like to see her mother more, and that now that no agency is willing to do the supervised visits, I'm trying to figure out where I go from here until October. Any suggestions?
Well, you know, I have discussed with Lydia. We did talk about possible leaving work sessions, but this is my concern. I've made a schedule before with this child, and I've made it pretty, I mean, we're working slowly and surely forward. If I had to disrupt the visit for whatever reason, I would lose her completely. So I don't want to be in the position of that happening.
Oh, absolutely.
So we discussed that. She and I both agreed that was probably not a good idea. I did speak with her a while. Actually, I have another individual person who does some supervised visitation. She's very sharp. She's very direct and on the ball, and I would be glad to give that name to people. She said she just finished up with a family, and they're not having an opening, so I'd be more than glad to share that information with them.
Would love that information.
So I don't have it right now with me,
Okay.
the number, but that was a couple of weeks ago. I got sick, and I've been behind ever since. So
Okay.
we talked about that right before that, so I will pull that name up and pass
Awesome.
it on to everybody.
All right, what I think I'll do, I'll tell the parties now, if you will, Ms. Mack or one of the parties will get in touch with you, get that information, and see if we can get that start up. And I'll probably make them come back for council-only review in a couple of weeks to see if it's getting set up and how it's going, and try to make a decision based on that.
Okay, and I will. I'll be glad. I'll get that together for everybody. Okay.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have.
Bye-bye.
Y'all have any questions based on what I just asked?
Dr. Berryman?
Knew it. Oh, sorry.
Can you send out an email to the, if we all email, well, if I email you, all of our emails on there, so we all get the exact same information at the exact same time to ensure that there's not anything there, would you be okay with that?
I'd be glad to. In fact, let me make sure she's still open. I don't want to offer something that can't be done, so let's
Gotcha.
check with her, and I'll even text her here in a few minutes, and we'll see where that goes. Okay.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. All right. All right, we are at 4:20.
May I briefly respond about the Facebook, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
The page that I'm referencing is a public page. There are 708 friends on it. There's a lengthy update about the court proceedings on Wednesday. We're in the middle of a trial. That's completely inappropriate. There was also a post to a YouTube video that was posted last week that's half an hour long discussing her entire thoughts on the whole case and her thoughts on Sanan and the issues that Delara's having at school. Not in Delara's best interest for that to be out there. I would ask these things be removed while this is pending.
All right, any further comment, Ms. Regular?
Well, I haven't seen them, she's not offered them, so, I mean, I don't know, the court's gonna have to rule based upon statements of counsel which are not evidence, so.
So,
Well, without saying the specific ones, if Your Honor will issue a blanket ruling that neither party is allowed to post those things and remove anything that they would have about that, I'm happy to show them. But
I'm not going to make that ruling. I just think that part of this case deals with the decision making of the mother and how that affects the child. And if she chooses to continue to make these types of decisions on what could possibly potentially affect her child and the negative effects it could have on her child, then that's her choice. And that could be part of your argument as we make closing arguments. I remember in your first opening yesterday, or not yesterday, the other day we were here, that she has directed Delara from what you were going to present some evidence that there was somehow Delara was directing. Her mother directed her to view some of these things, and if that just comes into evidence, then that I think is part of your argument in your case.
thank you.
I've said this before, Ms. Regularly. You weren't here probably when I said it before, particularly in the last ruling, that I wish that there was better decision making and things that could potentially affect her child. And maybe as her attorney that you can talk with her. And I totally get what she believes is her First Amendment and freedom of speech rights and her constitutional right to say whatever she wants to do. And most people have that right to do that. If there is some harm that can be shown to how that affects a child, then that's the consequences that she'll have to face as well. What I will do as to the visitation issue, because I do think that it was important that Delara get to have some time with her mother, and I do want something to get set up and not go the whole summer until next year, October, without having anything. If we could come back in a couple of weeks on a motion docket, just counsel only, so the clients don't have to be here, just to make sure that Dr. Berryman's idea worked, and if it didn't, then who we can turn to after that. So we are, I don't have a calendar out here. We are at, let me pull the calendar up here. May 12th, how about we come back the first Tuesday in June the 6th at 9 o'clock?
I can't do that date. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm out of county.
Not a problem. June 13th?
Yeah, I can do that.
That's fine.
At what time?
9 o'clock?
Is that on the motion document?
Uh-huh.
Absolutely not. I'm just playing.
She just playing. She playing. All right. So we will finish the trial in October, and I guess we probably need to pick another day.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask if we could either ask for how many more witnesses they were gonna have or something.
Because
So
you
we
still
could-
got both parties, that's going to take a day for per party, I bet.
Yeah.
So how many? other
Latasha
witnesses?
Stevenson.
That's the
Um,
DCS.
No, that's.
Oh, that's the.
Camelot.
Camelot. And
Camelot.
potentially the teacher from last year, since that's now been an issue for whether there were behavior problems last year. So,
Well, we agree there were behavior problems last year.
well, we don't.
Judy Mullins.
He had never been contacted about behavior problems last year, so.
Okay. Can you go grab my calendar? Thank you.
So we got the two DCS, Judith Mullins, Carrie Lloyd.
Are you all planning to call all those people? Okay.
Yeah.
So Again, let's try it again. Carrie Lloyd, still for them. Anybody else for their side?
DCS.
Mullins.
DCS, Judith Mullins, so that's 3.
And
What
Clark.
else? Y'all need to be 4.
Latasha Stevenson,
5,
the teacher from last year, and the 2 of them.
6, 7. Yes, we need 2 more days.
All right. So I gave y'all that October 18th as well. Was that one? You already have the 16th, and then I had also suggested the 18th. I didn't know if anybody.
That would work for me.
Make everybody come in at 6 a.m. instead of 6 p.m. And maybe we'll settle.
Is that what you said?
October.
I'm asking 18th,
Yes.
October 18th.
Yes.
Yes, for me.
All right, so we'll do the 16th, the 18th, and were you all available on the 20th? Oh, that was when you said you were not, Miss Regularly, I think.
Well, let me look at
I'm
that.
not either, Your Honor. I have a wedding
Okay.
that
What
weekend.
day would that be? That would be day 3.
Don't worry about it.
No, the 18th is day 4, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Then October 25th. Okay.
That's fine for me.
Hang on a second. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me
Sure.
write this down.
Do I have October 25th? No, I shouldn't. October 25th?
Good for me.
That's going to be a bad week.
School feelings and stuff.
Gonna be a long
I'm still
week.
not clear on what my restrictions are.
When's October 25th? Oh, I just added the 18th. The 25th work for everybody?
Hang on, 25th.
So the next day is the 16th, 18th.
Yes.
Also the 25th.
The 21st work for everybody?
25?
25.
Yeah.
25 work for everybody?
That's day
4.
5.
Is that day 5? Okay, 1, 2. You count the ones we already just had. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So
Yeah,
day
that's
2,
day 5.
we got day 3 on the 16th, day 4 on the 17th, and on the 18th, and day 5 on the 25th.
Alrighty. We'll see y'all in October. I'll see the attorneys, counsel only, on June the 13th, and then I'll see the rest of y'all in October. And Ms. Regularly and Ms. Hubble, the order that previously stated that there will be no new filings without the attorney are still in effect. Adding October 18th, October 20th.
Do I have permission to leave, Your Honor?
You
I
do
have a plane to
permission.
catch. I'm sorry.
Not a
Thank you.
problem.
Really? Really?